It's being recorded. Got it. Good. Great. So yeah, Masha and Sandra and Ivan and Kostya and I are Falguni we're just discussing this session and how we're going to play things. So welcome. This is our Falguni. What is the number of now that we're on? I've lost track. Number 10 of our season, of our third season, and which is really, we're embracing the chaosmos that we live in, and this session is the third that we're devoting to conversations with our Ukrainian friends, fellow Ukrainian theater artists, and artists in general, and this is, you know, in solidarity and in support of Ukraine, that we're continuing to have conversations about Ukraine, and this is real kind of against the news cycle. I think we're hearing a lot about how, oh, isn't it, you know, Ukraine is disappearing from the news cycle, etc. And so the subtitle for this session is Fierce Optimism. So we're demonstrating a kind of fierce optimism by continuing to express ourselves and to talk about what we're doing, what our friends are doing as artists in response to the ongoing invasion of Ukraine, day 127. So I'm sort of curating this session, but basically, unlike other sessions, I'm going to ask you anytime you want, you can put a question into the chat. Sandro, Masha, Ivan, and I are all co-curating. So we can, and Falguni is also going to be picking up these questions, and you could also raise your hand with the little emoji. So we're going to have a conversation right from the start. We do have some videos to show, and I have some questions to lead off with, but this is a conversation all the way through. So thank you so much for coming, and we'll kind of start with asking. I'm going to ask first Sandro and Masha to sort of talk about where they are. This is very interesting to me, and I thought it would be interesting to you as well to hear about where they're currently located.
Yeah, hi everybody, and thank you for joining. Thank you, Amy, for putting this together and keeping the focus on Ukraine, and mainly, you know, on artists in Ukraine, because artists, I think, don't receive as much limelight in times of war as other more important things. So Masha can tell a little bit about where we are right now. Probably.
Yeah, we're in Vilnius. Actually, we have also another person in the room, Alena Kalashnikova. Okay, just hello.
Hi everyone.
I'm glad to see you here. Alena is also in Vilnius as us, and she's here with her theater group, which is the playback group. So we have very different genres present in the room. And what I want to say about all of us, well, Vilnius is an incredible place. It's an incredible place because I even couldn't imagine that such support is possible. Like, I didn't know it's going to be emotionally such a strong support. I didn't know that we will be supported from the first moment that we arrived here, and even before that, because we've been invited here with our school, and our school is from first grade to the high school students. So it's a big number of people, and we came here with the director, teachers, all the students, and given shelter. Like, all our families been sheltered. But it's as I said, it's a little bit of a social experiment for us, because we came from different backgrounds, but mostly people came from the airport.
Oh dear, you're frozen. Oh, I predict there will be internet situations throughout this conversation. Masha and Sandra, we can't hear you. But you might be able to hear us. I'm just going to fill in a little bit of what Masha and Sandra told me. They're living in a dorm, a university dorm. So they moved from their large flat in Kharkiv and went on a whole odyssey across Ukraine and made it to Lithuania, where they were welcomed and are now living in a kind of dormitory situation where they have a shared kitchen and accommodations and one room for themselves and their boys. They're going to rejoin, and then And then I'd love to ask you also, Ivan, so what has been sort of, how would you like to introduce yourself to this conversation in terms of your situation?
Well, my situation is that, like personally, I was not in Ukraine when it started, and I'm not there because I live in Berlin and work mostly in Western Europe. But I'm from there originally, and my family is there, and I've been in touch with them all the time. So I kind of like, I have been observing the situation, not firsthand, but through the family, and they were all separated. I have like 3 brothers, my mother and my grandmother, they live there, and they were not able to be all together at this time. Some of them moved to Lviv region, some of them to Khmelnytsk region because they live in Kiev, normally Kiev in the suburb. So they had to spend like 2 months over there, and about a month and a half ago or something, they were able to come back, although it's still being bombed sometimes. You know it from the news, the region. I think when they came back, like exactly that day, something was like hit. So yeah, so apart from what we all know, like I can, you know, in the family chat, I also read like, did you hear that? Did you hear there was something? No, there was nothing. So it's like, you know, the mental state you can understand. And apart from that, I helped a couple of people I know from, like one of them is she was my primary school teacher. So she, I think at the beginning of March, they decided to come to Poland first, but there was no place there anymore. And then somebody said you could go to Berlin, and they came to Berlin. And since I was there, I tried to help them, and I could see the mental state they were in. They were essentially, even when I put them in an apartment, I found a place for them, they were afraid of every little noise, like the neighbors upstairs. Even when they walked, they thought that planes were flying or something, and it lasted maybe for, I don't know, a week or something. And after that, they started to relax a little bit. I said, people, it's okay now. You're in Berlin, you know, nobody's flying, you know. So something like that.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about what you're doing as an artist in response to the situation when we get to that. Kostya, you are in Ukraine right now. Would you, Sandra and Masha, could you converse with Kostya to talk about what his situation is and what is, you know, what's going on in his village, etc.
Да, Костя, ты понял вопрос?
Наверное, сам может.
Да, примерно, да. Я буду говорить по-русски, хотя хочется по-украински. Сандро, ты меня будешь
Говори
понимать?
по-українськи.
Да.
Розмовляй українською.
Ну,
Мне будет сложнее переводить, честно говоря.
Я смогу переводить. Нормально.
Бачиш, да.
Просто если, да,
Розмовляй
давай.
українською. Я так.
Сейчас, можно секунду? И
Уявляю,
можно
що це-
небольшие паузы, чтобы я успевал переводить.
Так, звичайно. Отже, я знаходжусь у селі Коземин Сумської області. Село
I'm in
Коземин.
Kozymin right now in a village in the Sumy region.
Це близько до Ахтирки,
It's near a town called Achtyrka,
яка дуже постраждала під час війни. Це невеличке містечко.
which came under a lot of fire during the first wave of the conflict of the war.
Але у нас тихо.
But at the moment, all is pretty quiet.
Перші дні війни я провів у Харкові 10 днів.
The first 10 days of the war I spent in Kharkiv.
І я перебував у центрі сучасного мистецтва Єрмілов-центр.
We were all in the basement spaces of the Yermilov Center, which is part of the Karazin University, one of the biggest universities of the city in the center of Kharkiv.
І центр сучасного мистецтва став бомбосховищем для нас. Це була вся харківська арт-спільнота, яка зібралась там.
It's the contemporary art center, which became a congregational place for all contemporary artists who are in Kharkiv currently. So it became some kind of a communal shelter.
З родинами, собаками, дітьми, всі були там 10 днів.
There was animals and kids. All the entire families were there for about 10 days.
М. От така історія.
That's my story. Как, Костя, как, не знаю, как ты оказался в Куземине и как ты переживаешь эту перемену из своей
Ага.
предвоенной жизни к тому, что там, где ты оказался сейчас?
Ну, для мене головне працювати, і в селі я маю таку можливість.
For me, the most important thing is to continue my artistic work, and I have that possibility. I have this possibility here to continue.
Тут є матеріал, і є час, і є простір для того, щоб зосередитись на роботі.
Since Kostya works mainly with mediums of wood and metal, so he says he has access to the necessary materials, and he has his tools, and he has the time to continue work, and he found the space to continue the work as well.
Да, бо в Харкові дуже шумно.
And of course, because in Kharkiv, it's a little bit too noisy at the moment to focus on work.
Every day.
Yeah. Well, Kostya means shelling, obviously.
Yeah.
Means, the constant sound of bombing.
Well,
Спасибо.
Kostya, would be good, then we'd love to see your work. I mean, could we maybe transition to the screen sharing so that Kostya
Mhm,
can show
mhm.
us some of the things you're making?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say another couple of words about Kostya. He's a sculptor, a puppeteer, a performer. He works in the mediums of wood and metal, as I mentioned before, and lots of other mediums as well, paints and graphic design. And he draws his inspiration, I would say, from different anthropological themes and archaic, ritualistic and shamanic works or themes, basically. But he's working on his own mythology. So he doesn't repeat ancient rituals or anything like that. He's creating his own works, his own mythology based on his experiences. So right now we'll be
Дякую,
able to...
Сандро.
Костя, зрозуміло, right?
we'll be
Добре, я
able to see
покажу декілька робіт. За скільки в мене є часу, скажіть?
How much time do I have, Amy? How much time does Kostya has? Ну,
Look,
сколько,
Yeah,
Добре, да.
скільки
go for
потрібно?
it.
Добре. Тут питання головне, зараз я покажу вам картинки. Головне питання, що робити взагалі в такій ситуації митцю?
The main question is, what should an artist address or do in a situation like this of Ukraine?
Бо, як сказав мій друг Олександр Міхет, відомий український письменник, що нема часу на метафору зараз в Україні.
Yeah, это хорошо сказано. So as my friend Alexander Mikhed, Ukrainian writer, said, there's no time for metaphors at the moment.
І рефлексія, і метафора, і інтелектуальні якісь
No time for...
роздуми, це зараз не актуально в Україні для тих, хто знаходиться в Україні, я маю на увазі, митців і людей.
There's no time for reflection or extraneous philosophies or intellectualizing at this time for people of Ukraine.
For people who are in Ukraine
Yeah.
right now, who are currently there, not leaving the land.
Що все, що робиться, це конкретне спрямоване на виживання.
Everything that is done is just it's a question of survival.
На допомогу іншим.
To help others.
Там, якщо це мистецтво, то от яке воно повинно бути, і такий висновок, що мистецтво в Україні зараз займається саме тим, чим воно було колись давно. Воно стає магічним в тому сенсі, що функціональним.
So art also becomes, it goes back, it sort of goes back in time when it was still necessary because it had some kind of magical strength or power. So it was a function of society, basically, not something that, you know.
Not for pleasure.
Not
It
for
became
pleasure, yeah.
something that doesn't serve the pleasure any longer, but serves a particular function. So it's a magical art again.
І я почав з того, що в мене не було інструментів спочатку. І я те, що знайшов, я почав відновлювати місто. Це перша серія.
Yeah, and so at first I didn't have all my tools, and I was very limited. And the first work that I began to do is rebuilding my city. It's called. It's basically when the city was being burned down, especially the northern neighborhoods, which were closer to the Russian border. I've made all of these placards, these
New
buildings, these houses.
Але це була саме рефлексія, мабуть. На той час мені здавалося, що це має значення.
But perhaps this work was still kind of my intellectualizing or my reflections on the subject.
Ну, я тоді не дуже розумів, коли це поєдналось разом в таку інсталяцію.
All of them together, I put together into this installation, exhibition, little exhibition.
І цікаво, що я досі не знаю, коли я зможу це показати, наприклад, там десь в якомусь проєкті на виставці. Зараз це, мабуть, не важливо. Просто важливо працювати.
А де це зараз знаходиться?
Це в Коземені знаходиться. Тут багато місця різного. Це так зруйнований сарай, насправді. Я там побудував таку інсталяцію.
I asked Kostya, where is this installation right now? And he said that it's in a half dilapidating housing, sarai, the building there. So it's still in the same village. And he says he doesn't know when it will become the exhibition, the proper exhibition. So right now it exists in this form, right there in the village.
І тут важливіше питання рідного міста і місто, яке стає твоїм домом навіть на відстані, ти його відчуваєш як свій орган.
Very important the question is of where is your place now? Where is home? And what is the place where you live? You're situated. And what is the connection between these two organs? It's like organs in your body. How are they connected now?
І паралельно з цим я робив такі фігурки для анімації. Це такий дивний проєкт, який почався задовго до вторгнення Росії повномасштабного.
This project started out long before the aggression. Yeah, it's a different project. It's a project for animation, and it has started before the war, or the active aggressive part of the war had started in Ukraine.
Це фігурки євреїв, яких виганяли з будинків. Це про Дробицький Яр.
This is about Drobitsky Yar, which is the place where the fascists of Second World War took Jews of Kharkiv to be executed.
Я почав робити
This is a lineup of Jewish people walking towards the place of their death.
Я почав робити їх з металу, бо мені не було чим малювати. Просто тут не було паперу. Це питання за тиждень до вторгнення Росії на схід. Я дивився спогади людей, які вижили в Дробицькому Яру.
Somehow, a week before Russia started its invasion to Ukraine, I was looking at the memories of people who survived in Drobitsky Yar, this execution, And I didn't have a paper with me, so I started to make their figures out of metal.
Ну, це кровельне залізо. І я думав, що ну, неможливо, щоб таке сталося зараз. Просто неможливо. Знищення людей масове, концтабори.
I was so impressed with the story, and I thought constantly, this is not possible now. Such thing will never be repeated with the camps, with concentration camps, and execution of so many people.
І я просто намагався собі уявити, що могли відчувати ці люди. Ну, таке поетичне відчуття, образне. Але
I tried to imagine what these people would think at that time, and it was my poetic reflection. And
продовжував цю роботу вже зараз. І це було зовсім інше відчуття.
Now, when I continue this working on the same project, I have a completely different emotions or reflections on that.
Да, і перша думка основна, що якщо ти цього не бачив і не переживав, то ти нічого не знаєш.
My main thought is that if you haven't seen it in person, if you haven't lived through that and experienced that, you don't know anything.
Ну, і навіть не треба намагатись відчути.
And you shouldn't even try. You shouldn't even try to imagine the feelings of these people, because it's not possible.
Ну, це про емоції мої.
It's about my emotions.
А потім я почав шукати все-таки образ, тому що треба, ну, це потреба митця знайти образ, яким ти можеш відповісти адекватно.
Then I started to look for the image that can respond to what's happening now in an adequate way.
І я його майже знайшов. Оце перший крок був, це сльози.
I almost found it. This is my first step. This is tears.
За кожну людину вбиту та замучену.
Every person who was tortured and killed, one tear for every person like that.
І ця деталь, яка стає частиною більшої роботи.
That will become, it's just a detail of a bigger work.
І ця робота, я зараз покажу, це підготовка до неї. Це голова
This is preparation for this work. This is the head of the enemy.
І я її зробив для того, щоб на ній робити маску ганьби. Shame mask. Здається, так.
I want to make a shame mask on this head.
Yeah, I created this head in order to make a mask of shame that I will put on top of it.
Mask of shame. Yes, mask of shame. Це середньовічне знаряддя тортур. Я зараз декілька разів кажу.
This is the is it a replica of medieval? This is a replica of medieval torturing mechanism.
І це трансформація ненависті, яка заповнює серце митця і не дає йому працювати.
It's also the metaphor of the hatred that the artist's heart is filled with, and this hatred doesn't let him work.
Бо ненависть такої сили, що вона блокує креативність.
This hatred is so big that it blocks creativity.
І я уявив, як можна наказати ворога.
And I understood how I can punish this enemy.
Таким магічним шляхом, ну і з фізичним відчуттям перформативним таким.
That's my physical. I wanted to have it almost as a performance, so it will be physicalized.
It will be like in this kind of a ritual and like a magical spell that I would create in order to punish him.
І ця робота називається Enemy Inside.
This work is called The Enemy Inside.
І це не метафора, знов таки, а інструкція.
It's not a metaphor, it's an instruction.
Тобто маска одягається на ворога.
This mask is placed on the enemy, on
І
his
він
head.
всередині, уявіть його всередині.
And he is
Imagine-
inside.
Imagine.
Imagine him inside of this mask.
Да. І це робота прокляття від сил природи.
This is using the forces, curse using the forces of nature against him.
Пташки клюють йому очі.
The
Ворога.
birds poke at his eyes.
Сльози
Ага.
з цих очей
The
капають за кожного.
the tears of suffering and torture and killing are coming from his eyes.
І ці сльози, вони підживлюють рослину, яка росте з рота.
And these tears water the plant that grows from his mouth.
А рослина пускає залізне коріння і заповнює голову всередину.
The plant spreads its roots through the mouth into his head.
По потилиці, по затилку, повзе гігантська скалопендра, як в страшному сні. Така кошмар.
On the back of his head is crawls a large centipede, a large centipede, like in a nightmare.
І черепи тварин кричать у вуха про біль народу України. І це відбувається вічно, тому що маска не знімається.
And the skulls of the dead animals scream into his ears about the pain of the people of Ukraine. And this goes on for eternity because the mask never comes off.
Ну, я думаю, що це найкраща робота, яку я взагалі зробив, може в житті.
This maybe is the most intricate and powerful work that I've created in this lifetime as an artist.
От, і останнє, що я зараз роблю, це підготовка до спектаклю, який ми плануємо поставити. І знов таки пауза.
The last thing that I'm doing right now, I'm preparing the performance that we're gonna do here.
And this piece is going to be
У
a part of
Харківському театрі ляльок.
Or Kharkov's theater of puppeteer.
Театрі, який був весь цей час волонтерським хабом під час війни.
At the time of the war, all this time, this place was the hub of volunteering work for the city.
І у нас зараз питання, що знову ж про що може бути зараз театр, ляльковий театр, коли
And we have a big question: what can the puppeteer do right now at the war?
Чи повинен він заспокоювати зараз людей?
Is
Чи
it
навпаки?
is it his goal right now
Function.
is it his function right now to calm down people or the opposite?
От. І це мої такі пошуки рішення сценографічного. Це листя з металу.
I'm looking for scenography for this new performance. This is the metal leaf.
І листя це знов таки захист для, наприклад, комах чи пташок, захист, під яким вони можуть ховатися.
It's a leaf, this leaf and or leaves that will happen. It's the shelter for little bugs and little creatures who can hide there. Under the leaves, because leaves are metal.
Стіна для людини, бо ми завжди відчували стіни як захист для себе, що можна сховатися за стінами, за містом, за будинками, і це буде відчуття безпеки.
We felt like people that the walls are our shelter, that we can hide behind them and we will not be harmed. And this is idea for this leaf. This is a shelter. This is like a wall for people, for the person, for the human being.
Але хто захистить самого листя і самі стіни? От в чому питання.
The question is who's gonna shelter the leaves and who's gonna shelter the walls from the destruction.
І виходить, що ми їх і можемо захистити. Таке коло.
It seems like in the circle of life, we are the shelter for the wolves, we are the shelter for leaves, and they are the shelter for us. That goes in a circle.
Ну, щось таке. Я ділюся своїми роздумами.
I
Вони
share my thinking. This is what it is.
Класс.
Вони великі, ну, ось.
Это для спектакля, да, будет? Ну, как
Ну, я не
разработки.
знаю, я просто роблю це, і це те, що я шукаю просто зараз. Бачите. Такий
Yeah, I'm
реалізм.
looking for something here.
This
They are
is-
big leaves, and Sandro asked, are they going to be the part of the performance? And Kostya says, yeah, I'm just looking for something. We'll see. Oh, that looks so beautiful.
Так, идеи для следующего фильма.
The next movie idea. The guys
Yeah.
did the movie together before, so they.
Мгм.
Relate to that.
Я поділився своїми роботами і до душі.
Спасибо, Костя. Да, I just wanted to ask,
The
because the question, that Amy had about when you say there is no time for metaphor, is this because history repeats itself? And it's not exactly so. I think what Kostya means, то есть вопрос был такой, когда вы говорите, что нету времени для метафор, это потому что типа история повторяет себя. Ну, немножко разъяснить, наверное, просто еще раз повторить, что Саша имел в виду под не время для метафор.
Тому що митець, який знаходиться в Україні під час війни, він не може дистанціюватись від ситуації, щоб побачити і зробити такий образний висновок. Неможливо, ти всередині.
For the artist who lives in Ukraine at the time of the war, there is no needed distance to see the metaphorical sense. So he's inside of the situation and he reacts to the situation constantly. That's why the metaphor is not, there is no time for metaphor.
Ти реагуєш всім тілом. В тебе немає порівнянь з Іліадою Гомера чи з чимось ще. Ти реагуєш, просто дієш. Зараз найважливіше просто діяти. Діяти, як відчуваєш, а не як думаєш.
Your body reacts to the impulses, reacts to something that's happening around without thinking, without any comparison to Iliad or some big poetry. It's just a pure reaction. And the mind is silent at that time. Дякую.
There's a question from Stephen. If Kostya can say more about the idea of shamanic engagement and the function of time for the artist with magic when it comes to magic. So shamanic, it's about the shamanic power of his work.
Can I just clarify what I was asking? Maybe, sorry.
Sure.
Yes.
Sorry, hang on. I'll just so you can see me. I'll just say hello. Hi.
Hi, Steve. So happy to see you here.
Hello, Masha. No, the question was, you mentioned two things. One was three things that interest me. One is shamanic role, shamanic engagement, and the second was the function of the artist in the time of war. And then the third thing you mentioned was magic. And I'm really interested in what more you have to say about those three concepts and how they might relate to each other.
Ну да, вопрос в том, что такое для тебя, наверное, шаманизм в этом контексте, роль творца или человека искусства, и последнее это
магический ритуал. Как это у тебя
магии,
связывается? Шаманы, магический ритуал и роль творца.
Да, ну, в контексте, в связи с, наверное, с войной, ситуацией.
Зараз спробую відповісти. Це коли ти вкладаєшся в загальний намір, у сенсі намірення. яке заточене на перемогу, на смерть ворога. І це роблять кожний по-різному. Люди, які воюють, вони це роблять безпосередньо. Люди, які допомагають ближнім, роблять це теж безпосередньо. Митці вкладаються духовно і матеріально. Кожна робота – це частина суспільного українського наміру, який заточується на перемогу.
There is one goal that's like a spearhead of every Ukrainian person right now, which is the victory and the death of enemy. And this is the goal that is addressed differently by people at their positions. The warriors, they fight. The volunteers, they support the front line and each other. And the artist, he has only his spiritual component to work with. He has his spiritual force and energy to combine with the efforts of these other people, but in the same direction. And how is it, Костя, и как это шаманизм или магия? То есть вот просто, чтобы обозначить.
Це вже ми переходимо на інтелектуальну стезю. Я думаю, що це питання енергетичне виключно. От митець складає енергію, а далі він сподівається, що вона перетече туди, куди треба.
I asked Kostya, so how is it shamanism or how is it the magic ritual? And he said, let's not intellectualize. Let's just talk about energy, because that's what artist has. Artist has energy. And this artist, and the artist hopes that when he directs the energy in this
when he forms an intention
with everybody else, this energy is going to work as shamanistic energy works in that respect.
Наш Сандро проект називався «Лабораторія неспрямованих дій».
Our project that Kostya and I were involved in for 6 years was called the Laboratory of Undirectional Action.
І зараз все помінялось.
Yeah, and
everything has changed.
Everything changed about 190 degrees in that sense. Now it's very directional.
This is so fascinating and provocative, and I'm sure that there are even more questions that are coming up for us as we talk about this. Because we have such a rich offering, I think then we'll let that settle for the moment and move on to your work, Ivan. If that's okay. Kostya, thank you so much. This is really fascinating and important.
Дякую вам за
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Ivan, would you like to show us your work and share your screen?
Yeah, I'm not sharing the screen, but I think Poguni will show the videos. I'll just say a couple of words, I think, in the line of what Kostya said, actually, in terms of everybody has his reaction to things and there is a direction. Yeah, and you can do what you can do. So essentially, when the whole thing began, and it was clear that it is clear now even more than it was clear in the beginning, but it was clear that there are two aspects that are actively being used by the enemy. It's the physical war and the information war, and the information war is just as important. So as somebody who could use his skills in terms of translating things and like voiceover in this case, I thought that I could be involved in this anti-propaganda thing, just doing that. And I started translating and doing voiceovers for many videos, and I will show several of them. And they're different because the one I see on the screen right now actually is an example of brainwashing, essentially. But since they're so absurd, somehow artistically, I kind of played around with voices a little bit and sort of also translated the things that would be normally lost in translation, like culturally they're different. So you have to accentuate something in the accent, for example, to make it sound a little bit more absurd in this case. So yeah, we can show this one.
Can you trust what they say on TV? You can. Do you watch Solovyov and Kisilyov? Yes. Can you trust them? Yes. They don't spread propaganda. No. Everything is true. Yes. What do you think? Can you trust what they say on TV? I think yes. You can. This is our time. What do you think? Do they lie on TV? I think no. But Ukraine is definitely lying. What do you think? Can you trust what they say on TV? Of course. They won't lie to us. Solovyov is trustworthy. I trust Solovyov. Do you know Solovyov, Kisilyov? Well, they defend our name. Protect our interests. You can trust them. Well, in principle, yeah. Do you think Americans live better than us? Well, we're actually more free. In terms of life. Do you think the Russians can survive a nuclear attack? We've survived a lot. I think we'll survive it. Would you like to visit America? And why the fuck do we need it? And actually, if there was a radioactive desert in America and Europe, I would be very happy. They disturb us. To put it simple, the conflict is that we're on opposite sides of the counter. Do you think Russians can survive a nuclear attack? I'm sure they're gonna survive it. Because, you see, our country is immense. Vice versa, the Americans should fear them most. What does America want from Russia? America wants to take over Russia. Would you like to visit America? Of course not. Why the fuck do we need them? What are you talking about? They'll fuck us. Is America a strong country? No, it's obese. Do you want Russia to annex Ukraine? Annex? No, make it part of it. Why not? It's too rough. But we could do it. Do you think Russia will survive a nuclear attack? Of course it will. We'll fucking hit them back. Do you think Russia will survive a nuclear attack? Of course. We have a bigger territory. Maybe we should actually do it first, right away. Slava Ukraini.
So something like that. This one is an intercepted call conversation, and this is a different, let's say, a different genre, if we could call it, which is more documentary. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. Everything is quiet here. Oh, that's really good. Completely quiet? Grannies? Children? Children have recently gone across the bridge. There were 9 people together with the kids, and then they went further under the arch. That's it. And what were they carrying? Nothing, just school bags. Probably the kids were going to school. I see. Did you open fire? For now, no. You spare them for now, yeah? Well, I'll let them go this time. Oh, on their way back. Yeah, right, I see. Okay, stay vigilant, stay courageous. We're with you. Yeah, roger that. Security Service of Ukraine. Slava Ukraini.
This one is just a captured Russian soldier. It was almost in the beginning. It's like 2nd of March, I see. Speaking with his mother.
They sent us to death. The whole fucking battalion. Everybody was killed. So it's like that. But I'm still alive. I'm on trial. There is a possibility for me to be exchanged as a prisoner of war. You can help. Help me do it if people join. Well, like, you know, write to my unit, go to her head. Maybe it's possible to exchange me through them. To bring me home. That's the fucking story. Son, but you're... Can I put it over here because I can't hear her? Wait, can you say it again? We love you, just come back home. I love you as well. Just go to the head and write to the unit. Because these bitches don't even take back the dead from the 200th Brigade. Fuck, they themselves killed the wounded. Who knows if they're gonna exchange the prisoners at all. Fuck, it's just, everyone got killed. Everyone. They don't even take away the bodies. Did they fucking say something at least? Shit, bitches. For sure, nobody's even received a death notice. Fuck, it's been a week. So that's the fucking story. But you don't scream too much over there that everybody got killed. That they're not taking the corpses back, because you'll be in trouble with the FSB. Just tell them to at least exchange the prisoners. Because if you start making a lot of noise, the FSB will be after you. And how are you treated? Well, they don't beat me, they don't torment me, they feed me. I love you. Kiss her for me. Security Service of Ukraine. Slava Ukraini.
Is enough. Amy, do you want to should I show the rest, or it's enough? What do you think?
Well, that's I'd love to ask you a few questions about that work that we've seen so far.
Okay.
It's very disturbing in many different ways. The different types are disturbing for different reasons. So there's this quality of farce, which, you know, I think you just, all you do is highlight it, but it's already there in the material. What is the role of this kind of humor? I mean, I'm very curious about that. There's a kind of, I mean, is it funny? I mean, how do we react?
Well, it is funny, but it is funny, but it's tragically funny. You know, it is funny because it's so absurd. You know, it's you know, it's been discussed a lot how because you remember at the beginning of the whole thing, everybody thought, okay, maybe in a week they will all understand. I mean, the Russians, and people will see people on the streets, but then a week later it's not happening. You know, 2 weeks later it's not happening, and then it's not, and still it's not happening. You know, like 4 months later. So it says something about the mental state of the population. You know, so to kind of to realize that it's a huge nation and they're all live in a parallel reality mentally. It is absurd in a way in 2022. And the funny thing is, it's not only for me. It's like I think the whole Western world didn't actually suspect that something like that is possible. You know, and how dangerous it is. That's
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you first showed me your videos, I remember the analogy to Trump and Trump's America came up immediately for me. And I think one of the reasons why I find it so disturbing is that that mentality persists. It doesn't go away. It has a tremendous ability to endure. So I think I feel quite desperate when I see the mentality of when you're interviewing the interview of the Russian citizens. It feels very grim. It feels absolutely desperate, actually, to see how thick kind of ignorance is. I'm just curious.
There are many components. There are many components to that. You see, to completely understand how something like that is possible, you have to look at the many historical and emotional components that a particular nation has, and how these emotional and let's say ideological and historical components are being manipulated to put this nation into a certain state that you would like to exploit. There's this component of stupidity. It has to be there. I mean, it has to be. You really have to be stupid in a way. You should lose the ability to critically analyze things. And of course, I mean, it's not something unique to the Russian people today. You know, so it is possible everywhere. You meet such people everywhere. But the thing is, when it becomes a major ideology, where it becomes the major movement of the nation, and then everybody else is looking and not really. I think in the past 20 years, the Western world hasn't paid enough attention to what was happening in the country, and where it was all going, So that was a big mistake, because of course the West is primarily interested in, it's a materialist world, so it's about making money, doing business, and things like that, and they're primarily interested in, I need to take care of my own things first, and then everything. So it's not very, let's say, the perspective not so wide. But then when you don't realize that these things are very connected, if a particular nation has such a strong influence from their government in this one particular direction, and they lose the ability to see the world as one interconnected organism, then you have it, So yeah, so it's absurd. It's absurd, and it's tragically funny.
Who do you think the ideal audience for your translations are?
I think most of the people who have been watching were Americans, but not only Americans, Western Europe. I mean, I could have translated into German, for example, or other languages, but I think English is more international, so that's why I decided I'll do it in English. And from the response that I see, many people say, yeah, okay, now I get it. Because if you just put some subtitles, in some cases, people don't get some things that if you're not from this culture, you will not get it. Why it's funny, for example, or so you have to translate some cultural things so that the Western audiences understand. So essentially, it's my little role in this information war.
Yeah. I'd love to leave room for some questions to you. I want to get on to Sandro and Masha's work, and also I know Olena would be really great to hear you speak. Is there anybody who has a question for Ivan who'd like to speak up now?
I think Masha has a question, so we can speak with Masha.
Yeah.
Unmute yourself.
So, yes, I have a question. Well, because of this juxtaposition that we've got with Kostya's work, which is very serious in a way, which has this component of shamanistic action without any humor in it. It's very direct. And then Ivan's films, and I caught myself on a very strange emotional roller coaster. Like, do I want to laugh now? And I kind of listened to myself. And my question is actually, it's a sort of a reflection. It's not a question. It's like, I wonder if we show in that way the absurdity of Russian thinking, don't we undermine of how evil this thinking is? You know what I mean? It's like, well, you can look at these pictures and say, man, they're so stupid. They will not hold on for a long time, because we had the same reaction at the beginning. We're like, oh my God, they have rusty tanks. They have stupid commanders. Their ideology is totally, like, completely rotten. They cannot stand for a long time. Yeah, and even now you can hear from people that there is no spirit behind them. They cannot do it. But it seems like there is this sort of funny, trickstery, dark spirit that actually prevails, and it claims more and more lives, and it creates more and more destruction. So I wonder if our habit of laughing at the Russian stupidity actually doesn't hold the West back from action. It's harder to kill funny people than to kill serious enemy. Like, if you show them as a funny people, it's like, oh, well, they're just stupid little funny people, but they are not. They're evil in what they do. You see what I'm,
I see what you mean. Interestingly enough, what people have been mostly commenting is, like, over and over again was, I hate these people, like, it seems like this generates lots of hate. And I think, oh, it's good. That's exactly what I want. I'd like, let's bomb, let's nuke them first. Like, I've seen such reactions. So I think, whoa, yeah, that's good. That's good. I think if something like this was only the only information that the West would be getting today, that would be wrong. but you see everything, you see all the documentary footage, like everything journalists are making, it's all there, and so I think humor by itself is not a problem. I think, if something, I mean, war is war. War is not funny, of course. People are dying. Everybody understands that. I think I don't think it's like something will stop the West from helping Ukraine other than their own concerns, let's say, their own, first of all, financial and concerns of security. And things like this that just show a little bit of different side, maybe with a little humor. I don't think it'll do any damage. It'll just like a little bit of, it's a bit more information that you can get.
It would be interesting if you found footage of Russian people who are constantly repeating how much they hate America and how much they want America to be bombed. That would be a right message for United States to hear. That there's this like whole country that is dreaming of bombing the America. That's interesting. Thank you.
But the thing that Amy brought up, that there is very clear parallel to the Trump supporters, many of them, not all of them. I mean, there are some Trump supporters who are very smart people, but if we're speaking about this very simple layer of simple people, people who are not particularly bright, this is exactly what you saw in this video. Because of course, I mean, in Russia, there's this layer of intelligentsia who of course understand everything, and then they make their choice. Some of them have left the country. Some of them are staying in the country and say something. Some of them don't say anything. Some of them are pro official Russian position, we can say. But I'm sure they understand everything. Most of them, those people who have brains, it's not so easy to brainwash them with the quality of propaganda that you see in Russia today. I think the point is this big chunk of population is so brainwashed. It's not because the quality is so good. It's just, it's been going on for 20 years. Like if you say something to someone for 20 years, at some point, I think the person breaks and then starts believing. And that's easier. And like for people who are not particularly educated, not particularly smart, it's easier. It's easier to live like that, because you want to live in peace, and you don't want to fight all the time. And they keep saying, okay, I'll stop fighting and just give me my peace. I just want to live. Something like that.
Conformity. Yeah, it is about conformity. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Ivan. This is it's, again, so as we continue, because we know we have a long post show if people want to stay, so we'll talk more about your individual works at the end, hopefully. I think because we have only a quarter of an hour, Sandro and Masha, do you want to share your screen and show the work you've been working on, which is called in English, Where Are You?, which I find very eloquent.
Yeah. We can share the pictures. Yeah.
Sure.
We kind of ended up one of the stages. So we're working, when we arrived to Vilnius, we were in such a lost state of mind that it came as our salvation that we've been offered artistic residency. And taking the artistic residency in Vilnius Spaustuvė, it's the arts printing house. We immediately started to work on something that was our current psychic state, I would say. So we with another person from Kharkiv, who is the Buto dancer, we try to do something that is based in the body. Because as been mentioned by Kostyantyn, when you're at the war, your mind breaks. It doesn't work any longer. Your body works in an amazing way. Your body does something that you don't know it's capable of doing. So the reactions are so new. Well, even when I say new, I think it's not true, because they are old forgotten reactions. When they come in the body, you remember the previous generations, like it's your grandmothers and grandfathers speak through you and they say, yes, you have to hide, and hiding is like that. Yes, your heart is pumping because you need to run faster. Yes, your attention is so sharp because you have to look for shelter and you know where to find it. And it's just just incredible. You don't know that you can be like this. And so this idea of you can't, like you don't know that you can be like this is connected to the placement in a new situation. Where are you? I'm in a new situation. I'm in the situation of war. My body does strange things, and I want to. And when we're finally in a peaceful state, we decided to see so what our body does. And that became the research for the project for this somatic or dance performance. And this is particularly Sandro's monologue that he created about clash in the mind of two ideas, of idea to become a hero and run and defend your land. And the idea is that somebody is destroying your precious life and taking away your dream, and you want to stay with your dream and with your normal life. And so this is like, he felt like these things are like two creatures in his body fighting for the truth, which truth will be taken. And that's been the monologue he was working on. And we worked with the idea of supporting each other and constantly keeping connections, because that's what we experienced in the first days, constantly asking each other, where are you? How are you? What are you doing? Do you need help? And all these people from around the world, they also have been asking the same question, where are you? Do you need help? So we worked through the body on that. And this is us in a shelter when your body is completely switched off. And the only thing is that mental state is like trying to find where you are in mentally, but the body is frozen. This is this shock period and horror. And while we've been doing this, this particular moment, I spent lots of time. It almost like also killed my psyche. I've been listening to all this live recordings of the people in shelter trying to find the right sound for the for our bodies to exist. So here it's the kids who play in shelter and they talk to each other and they ask about the different sounds and which sounds mean what, and the news reel and the reaction on the news. We explored that. So yeah, our performance was not that long. It was 40 minutes long and a lot of people cried. Yeah, and I want to say just one thing about this thing. We at some point we arrived to the idea that war made us much simpler, is also something that kind of reflected in Kostya's work, that you need everything became simple and clear, and you understand that all of a sudden really it's true, evil and goodness exist, and they exist in separate universes, and life and death is not the same, and it cannot be mixed in some half-toned. And so we had this poetic moment of trying to reconcile this world in which there is life and death somehow. And also we worked with the short stories of our friends who spread around the globe, about them going in trains and planes and boats everywhere. And yeah, and I created this small puppets, motanki, these little dolls over here. They are traditional Ukrainian magic dolls. They are given to people who leave their house. So, and it's given to the person who is leaving the house, so this person would never forget their way back home. And my idea was that every friend who left needs to have this connection and needs to be able to come back. And I also wanted to have this magic moment. I wanted to have this for real, you know, not just puppets, but I wanted them to be meaningful in a traditional culture. So they are traditionally Ukrainian, very ancient. It's from times and times ago. They are found in all the archaeological digs in Ukraine with little dolls, not only for playing with kids. So the story was about saying goodbye to friends and knowing that we will come back, all of us, because we're in the same situation. So that was our initial stage, which came on the stage, and we performed it several times. And now we're looking at how to continue it. because it doesn't leave us and it goes into this new moment. We live in a different moment now. We live in the moment when we understand that the war has not ended. We're not coming back yet. It's still destruction. It's still these terrorist attacks. They still continue. And so our idea is very simple, is actually to go back to Ukraine for shooting some material there. Again, some dancing material, and go to Borodyanka and Bucha and somewhere around Kiev. We're scouting for locations. The person who's in Kiev right now, scouting for locations which we can use. And we want to bring Lithuanian dancers with us, if so they can also touch on a space of war, like touch on this, it's on this traumatized space, because space itself is being traumatized by the war. It's not only us as people, it's everything. You know, it's the sky and land, everything is destroyed. And so we want to give ourselves this, our bodies, this chance to experience that. We feel like we're strong enough. We got out of the shock, of initial shock. We can go back as artists and submit our bodies to this experience again. And then we come back to Vilnius and make a new stage for this performance with probably a bigger number of people and with more international stuff. And why we're doing that? The main question is, well, like, why to do anything? Yeah, why not to spend all your money and effort on, you know, Bayraktars and buying cars for the army? Why do we continue working as artists? And I really agree with Kostyantyn on that, because this all what we have as artists is our way of manipulating our energy, our creative energy. We're not that good as fighters. We're not as good as warriors probably, but we might be good at concentrating on this, directing the energy towards the victory. It's the перемога is everything that it's the only thing that we want right now, probably.
Well, we can say we can be ambassadors, I guess, because we're in not too far, but we're in Europe, so we have this direct conduit of experience. So when we show this
I think they've frozen again. Yes, they've frozen. This is wonderful, Sarah. You've shared a link. Before I ask you to explain that link, I just want to ask Olena if you wanted to say anything after everything that you've seen here, and now we know that you're also in Vilnius with Sandro and Masha.
Yeah, I can share some experience. I have some reflection afterwards. What the guys told, and I have my experience and experience of my theater. If we have some time for that, I can share it. But I don't know how long I have.
I see. Okay, so because you have a theater company in Vilnius. Sorry, yes, you cut out. I filled in. I filled in.
Everything is unstable.
Yeah, we will wrap up. I just Sandro was saying about ambassador, being ambassadors. Was it heard? Yeah.
Yeah, basically, I guess, like I said, war puts you very much in touch with reality. So as an artist, you really brought into this moment of being. And at the same time, it's very harsh, because it's a reality that says you don't really mean anything. Everything your dreams, your like aspirations, all that wonderful stuff, you've huddled somewhere inside thinking and dreaming about the future, your life, your family, whatever, work, view outside the window, it doesn't mean anything. You don't mean anything, so it brushes you off very much. And but you do feel everything everything very directly right away. Of course, it's a state of shock. So part of the performance, building this performance, was dealing with that state of shock. And also, you know, it was a very interesting experience to actually present it, because then you had a chance to divide it, to share this tragedy with a bigger audience. And when that happens, there's also a magic element. Yeah. So all of a sudden, this big burden that you've been hauling on yourself, it's sort of given over to the community, and it's then supported by more souls, basically. And literally you feel physically, emotionally more open all of a sudden. Yeah, you feel like a big weight has been taken off your shoulders, which is again, you know, to say that that's another aspect besides being the ambassador. It's kind of, we share in the, you know, artists kind of share this thing through community. All of a sudden we take this weight and we carry it all together. It becomes lighter. You know, we bring people together on issues, which is great. And the basic thing that I've noticed on this conflict, and that's the last thing, it's this also very black and white division. One side is empathy and the other side is ignorance. And so one side is like, yes, I will feel what's happening right now in the world. And the other side is no, I will not feel what's happening. I will not let you in. I will stay behind this closed gates and think it's propaganda. They're dividing where they're dividing a common nation, you know, it's like they're pitting us against each other. Maybe if Biden was to be nicer, you know, none of this would have happened. Maybe if Zelensky would give over Donbass, the violence, you know, like all this shit, you know, it's just overthinking it. Like the direct experience is what's happening. And yeah,
I also
that's my
want to,
thing.
yeah, thank you. I also wanted to say on another side that being an artist and being a Ukrainian artist is super important right now, because we are, this is how we're also fighting the war in staying Ukrainian artists, you know, like the Ukraine has the strongest artistic scene. We are the people of art. That's how we want the world to see us. Yes, we are the nation of heroes. Yes, we're going to win in this fucking war at some point. But the main idea is that we want to share the richness of this artistic involvement of us with life, because I feel that life is art. You know, life is creativity, at least. Life is creativity. So we cannot afford ourselves to be sterile in the, they want us to be shocked, simplified, unified, and like really primitive, but we want to stay artistic. And this is the only pitch that Ukraine can do to the world. That's why we cannot be given to the Russian monster to be eaten. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like the West, it feels like it's trying to balance out. Is it the bigger danger of the nuclear weapons, or let them eat Ukraine? Oh, it's okay. Well, Ukraine is maybe not the thing to be lost for the universe, and we're trying to say like, no, we are the thing that if you lose us, you lose this incredible chunk of creative energy that is coming from our country. And that's why artists should be loud. And I also,
there's a lot of IT specialists from Kharkiv living in Chicago. I know them personally.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, brains and so on, but we want to talk about art. And one thing about coming back to Ukraine, we're not going to the war zone. We're also going to the place where people continue being alive. And that's so important, because we're going to the place where people love each other, where people continue building families and having kids and trying. This is their huge effort to, it's because it's not about ignoring the war. It's about fighting the war with your life, with saying, I have a right to be alive. I have the right to be as human as I can. I'm not the war machine. And I wanted to finish our little presentation with the hello from our friend who's also a puppeteer, but he is in trenches right now. And he's doing this little half humorous videos every day. He publishes them on Facebook. I asked his permission. I actually wanted him to be with us on today's talk. He says, Masha, it's unthinkable. His TRO, his land defense, not the CSU, not the regular army, but his land. And that's him. His name is Max. We worked with him on theater projects. He's a wonderful musician. He's the great person for Kharkov's artistic community, and that's his life. That's so being the puppeteer, I feel like he's using this knowledge of human as a puppet here. That's hours and hours of sitting in trenches and listening to the shelling.
Не страшно.
He says, not scary, not scary. And there is another little piece of his life there. So with Max, it's also important to understand how we're interconnected. His whole outfit is bought on the money of artistic friends, on all the people he knows. And that's everyday situation that they're going through. No, just a little bit before that. Before they, yeah. So they also record everything that is happening in the countryside. I think even earlier, yeah. Oh, to show it. Okay. So that's Kharkov's region. It's summertime. It's the time when animals should be on pastures and the vegetable gardens grow. But that's how it looks now. And that's our fields with wheat that
Прикинь, сейчас такое открывается, и у нас тут открывается такая землянка, короче, вы прошли на 2-й уровень, и там получите коллиматоры, подствольные гранатометы.
They're actually referring to, all of a sudden they go into this video game mode and he says, hey guys, think you're gonna pull this chunk of a rocket out and then this sign will appear. You have passed on to the 2nd level, like in the video games. Now you shall receive grenade launchers, NASA equipment, special NASA food packs, and etc., and a tank or something like this, all of a sudden, because they're kids. So that's kind of their...
Well, and they honestly have no weapons. This is the only thing they have. They are prepared to fight, but it's old Kalashnikov's guns. That's all what they have.
А вот, походу, слышишь? Нет, это просто...
And that's what they do. They inspect these huge holes left in fields and villages everywhere, and you don't see any people. And sometimes they ask, where are the people? But they only find animals. And this is a rocket.
Да.
This is hello from Russians. That's what we receive on every day.
Просто
Right
охренеть.
in a vegetable garden with cabbage and carrots around and onions. It's hard to accept the idea that people who are fighting right now, a lot of them are artists. Maxim Kurachkin, who is a famous, world famous dramaturg, he's also at war right now. And many guys are there, not doing art, doing this.
Сейчас я...
Yeah, that's all their weapon. You can see, this is all what they have. And for me, this little clip is also about people.
А вы не голодные, хоть
Yeah,
бедные?
he says, aren't you hungry, little ones, or poor ones? That's the,
What do you mean? Oh,
yeah, but
that's harsh.
the harsh thing is that animals are left also. They left, the people are running somewhere, but all these creatures are in, you see cows walking through the forest and grazing there because nobody is there to take care of them. And videos like this are not shown in news. It's something that, again, share it from person to person. But for me, it's also about life. There's summer, there are animals, there's like everything for people to come back and just start normal life, just coming back to the land, just take away the iron falling down and fire. That's our presentation.
Thank you so much for that. I mean, it's so direct, and I'm reminded of what Kostya said about the immediacy of representation. That what he's doing, what you're doing, it's almost like metaphors was not in play, because it's just a very direct thing, and he's just filming things, and it's so eloquent. It's so it says everything. It says everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. What we're gonna do is I just want to ask quickly Sarah to tell us what the poster link is that you shared.
Hi, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to share it during your talk. I meant to do it, but it kind of, I didn't realize it was going to appear straight away. No, thank you very much. It's just, it's very kind of powerful and moving and everything that you're saying. I've been to Kharkiv. I did a British Council cultural exchange there a few years ago, working with Arabesque Theatre. So Svetlana from there is now in Poland. So yeah, it's very kind of powerful, everything you're saying. But the poster is about, so now I'm in a little town in the north of England, and I'm through an Erasmus project. There's a filmmaker from Kiev who's here with me, with my company, and indefinitely now. She was going to come just for 3 months, and now it's become indefinite. She's here with her daughter. Her husband is a film director, is a TV producer. He's still in Kiev, but she runs a movie festival for young people to teach young people filmmaking skills in Ukraine. And tonight we're showing them in our local cinema. We're doing a live screening of some of her films, and but they're also going to be available on her YouTube channel, which I can put the link in for. And we're we're raising money for her to then go. It was interesting because it was when Masha was talking about going back to Ukraine, because she wants to go back this summer and run a film camp in the mountains for young people, particularly from Irpin, who lots of them, you know, haven't been able to leave the country but have lost parents and things. So teaching them is that, you know, to have some respite really from everything, but learn creative skills and ways of expressing themselves through filmmaking. So yeah, so that was
yes, please do. Please do put that link in the chat. And thanks.
Thanks.
Yep.
There's a link to her YouTube
Wonderful.
channel, a link to the crowdfunding if anybody wants to support. But thank you very much to everyone who spoke, because it was,
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. And I also want to say,
sorry, I just wanted to say about Ukrainian artists, the thing that Masha was saying about, you know, the creativity of Ukraine and how it's now dispersed around Europe. You know, the people that I know who are in all different parts of Europe, but there's things like this are really important to have those connections, I think.
Yeah.
Great. Look, just going to say, we're going to wrap up the recorded bit, and those who need to leave can leave. Before we go, I would like to say one of the reasons why we recorded the entire session is we would very much like it if you would share the recording on your social media. So you can find that. You'll receive from Falguni, you'll receive notification that the video is uploaded. So this is material we are very happy for you to share on your social media networks. After we finish recording, I'll ask Olena to speak about her theater company. We can definitely stay in the room and have, you know, what we call an after party, but it's hardly after. We just continue to keep on going. And please join us next in 2 weeks' time. We're having a break. So this is what I needed to say. Yes, we're going to have a break. We'll be off for a month. and then we will be resuming with season 3. So thank you so much, especially to our guests for appearing today, and thank you so much for sharing what you did. Faguni,
Thank you, Amy.
thank you so much.